It's finally that time of year, the one where you can just stay inside, look out at the snow, and relax, and maybe drink some hot chocolate. Or just like white milk or something if you're a psychopath. Unless it's with cookies, of which that makes you really normal. But, you know, everyone excuses the man that comes down your chimney every year and just eats milk and cookies. But God forbid I just do that without any cookies. But regardless, I've actually been wanting to make top 10 videos for a long time now. So here we are. Let's get into it. And before I start, I want to say there was no real criteria for this list. I just picked 10 levels that I like and I associate as really fun snow levels, and that I just wanted to be way different than anyone else's. So with that being said, let's dive right in. Number 10, Planet Siberius, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. This level is surprisingly special to me. It just has good vibes about it. Obviously there is snow, but I love how the trees look just a little frosty with this really warm bluish color. There's this whole futuristic look to the industrial activities going on where the planet is clearly having its natural resources taken. Once you complete the main part of the level, you then get in the back of this truck as the convoy that it's a part of begins to roll out. From there, you fight your way to the front of the convoy by going in the back of the trucks or on top of their roofs. Interspacing these are more typical enemies that you have fought thus far in this point of the game, as well as the antagonists you have been chasing thus far in the story. Once they are defeated, you get the full boss fight, which is a fun time even if it is easy. This simple and linear level is nearly everything you could ask for in a Ratchet and Clank level. Number 9, Snowhead Mountain, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. When it comes to Zelda levels, there are plenty with snow and ice, but for me, Snowhead Mountain stands out amongst the rest. I'm including the whole mountain because it's all just snow, you know? Is it because Majora's Mask is the Zelda I've played the most? Well, yeah, probably. But seriously, there's a lot to love here, especially for anyone like myself who actually loves playing as Goron Link. Additionally, I love the idea of the giant invisible Goron, who you just put to sleep by playing some chill music. On top of that, you get fire arrows and this fun dungeon, and then to finish off the level, you get to fight Got, which is basically a giant bowl you fight by rolling up into a spiky Goron ball. I also just love Darmani, who is this ghost that leads you to the Goron graveyard. His backstory is just so tragic, and I just love seeing things like that just kind of add to the world building of what's going on in Termina. Everything with the lens of truth is also just cool, whether it be seeing the ghost or, you know, the invisible ladders or other things. I just really enjoy that mechanic. I also think that Mountain Village is cozy in spite of the game's insistence of using incredibly ominous music. I mean, there's this. But if I change the music to this, see, now it's happy. Coming in at number 8 is Chapter 1 of Red Dead Redemption 2, Colter. What can I say about the captivating opening of Red Dead Redemption 2 that hasn't already been said? Red Dead Redemption 2 has one of the most memorable intros in recent years, and it serves as a great introduction to the Vanderlyn gang, a large group of outlaws trudging their way through a harsh winter snow. The gang sends out a scouting party to get supplies, which consist of Dutch, Arthur, and Micah. They come across a homestead, but to their surprise, the occupants are their rival gang, the O'Driscolls, who had just murdered the previous people who lived there. This results in a shootout of which the Vanderlyn gang are the victors. Sadie Adler, who later comes into her own, was hiding in the cellar and then eventually ends up joining the gang. They then return to the outpost with the supplies and Sadie. Following this, Arthur and Javier go out to find John Marston, who has been lost in the snow. Once we're here, we get to see some incredibly cinematic shots of truly beautiful Western American snow-covered mountaintops. Once they find John and they get him back, only to be pursued by wolves on the way down the mountain in this exhilarating chase sequence. After this, Dutch decides it's time for the gang to roll deep and take revenge on the O'Driscolls. This results in them getting into another large shootout and then learning about the trains that the O'Driscolls had planned to rob, thanks to Kieran Duffy. Following this, there's this nice little mission about how the game's hunting mechanics work. However, it practically fits the storyline and of the group trying to find food in the harsh weather conditions. The chapter finally culminates with the first train robbery that had been alluded to thus far. Robbing Leviticus Cornwall is the fuel that would not only make the rest of the game happen, this first chapter has everything you could possibly want, from having stunning visuals, engaging gameplay, and a captivating story. Coming in at number 7 is None of It Bay from Sly 2 Band of Thieves. Sly 2's None of It Bay has an extremely comforting presence as a level. I'm not sure if it's the Canadian atmosphere, the anthropomorphic animals, or the trains running through the small coastal town. Regardless, this level is so chill and fun to explore. The level takes place out in the Canadian wilderness, where Jean Bassan runs his spice shipping operation. From this you can go around, follow the incredibly active train tracks, go to the top of the mountain whilst dodging some eagles and avoiding wild bears prowling their natural habitat. This level also features some of my favorite missions in the entire game, including aerial assault and theft on rails, in which you get to make your way through stealing back the vital portions of the clockwork parts being used to fuel Jean Bassan's operations. Additionally, with some really memorable moments in the game, like the boss fight with Constable Neela, our interaction with Carmelita while she's on the outs with Interpol, and did I mention how much I love the music here, because that really makes the level.
This is a certified hood classic.
Number 6, Cool Mountain, Super Mario 64. Here it is. It's on every single list like this, and of course, I'll have to include it. I love this game, and I love this level. There's nothing really more that can be said. But I'll keep talking because I have a slight bit of narcissism about myself for some godforsaken reason. But you know what it is? We go down the slide, we take the shortcut, we hold that bastard penguin kids over the ledge and teach her what loss is. Then you know what? We play the game like a normal person, just not like a psychopath. I think what this level really nails is the general idea of snow levels as a whole. It's got snow, it's got ice, snowmen, penguins, a cabin, a long rickety wooden bridge, and a super jank gondola. And it has this incredible earworm of a track, in addition to all the fun activities and challenges that a Super Mario 64 level contains. And it's up there as one of the best, and it's super memorable to tons of players. Number 5, Mount Wario, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is my favorite track in all of Mario Kart. I love how the entire thing feels like a full experience of going down a mountain. You start at the summit, work your way down an icy path, into a cave, and onto a dam with anti-gravity. Then you're onto a delightful wooded area. Then there's this slalom area that all culminates into this big jump reminiscent of a Winter Olympic ski jump. Then, right before the finish line, you have just this perfect little stretch that will more than likely determine the outcome of the race. All this happens as the typical Mario Kart 8 experience is happening. This wonderfully bombastic jazzy tune blaring as you barrel your way down the hill. Of course, the chaoticness of random shells, fireballs, bananas, boomerangs, bombs, and racers themselves are going every which way. This just had to be on the list. Number 4, Lakeside Resort, The Last of Us. In The Last of Us, Lakeside Resort is my favorite part of the entire game. This is where it truly shines. In this portion of the game, Ellie has to take things into her own hands and to take care of Joel following his injury. The man who had promised her to take her across the country and who we as the player had been controlling the whole time. But Ellie is capable herself. Long story short, she ends up meeting a man named David, who just happens to be the one responsible for sending out the men who injured Joel in the first place. I love David as a grounded antagonist. He's creepy, he's awful, he's a rapist, a cannibal. I can't imagine that he was ever a good person, but I can imagine that he was a part of society. From there, David and his crew get a hold of Ellie after he gives Ellie the medicine and she attempts to escape. She does for a while until she is caught by David, who at the very least keeps her alive for now. But unbeknownst to them, Joel immediately knows that something is up and that it's time for him to spring into action. In this sequence, Joel gets to show how brutal he really is, successfully interrogating 2 members of David's crew and then still killing them anyway. Ellie gets pulled out of the cage that she's been held up in and is able to run away for a short bit until having a final confrontation with David himself. Eventually, she ends up brutally killing him in an entirely justified fit of rage, and Joel is there to console her, but at this point, it's too late. What always gets me is how well acted this is. The story beat is just so emotional. Ellie is facing maybe her greatest threat yet, and doing so alone, and this moment changes the character forever. And because of that, it just had to be on the list. Number 3, Stony Mountain, Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy. There's something just so special about Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy's depiction of Snowy Mountain. I love that while it is one of the game's harder levels, it has this unique charm that's just really surprising. It's the details that differentiate it from the rest of the game to me. The level has unique lurkers that emerge from the snow, in of which they reside, ice lurkers who rush at Jak with these razor-sharp spikes, the glacier troops who work on excavators on the side of the mountain, equipped with shields and what can only be assumed to be some form of red eco. And then there are just these weird bunny things. In terms of geography of the level, there's just so much here that I love about it. You take this gondola ride up from the depths of a volcanic crater to be created by the previously mentioned snow lurker. Following that, there's this gap that you roll jump across, followed by these precursor blockers that look like totems of sorts. You also have these giant snowballs just being pushed down a hill, a couple of fun cave sections, iced over bridges, and of course this awesome lurker fort, which you just get to go into and platform throughout. It has such a good mix of traditional platforming, ice platforming, the flut riding, and unique enemies paired with this winter aesthetic that makes it truly stand out from the rest of the game. Number 2, Cliffhanger, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. This mission starts off with 2 special agents smoking a cigar on the edge of a cliff in Kazakhstan as a jet flies over. Within minutes you have to start climbing again and you almost die, showing that this mission is nothing light. You're your typical sneaking into a foreign military base sort of shtick, and voila, you're in the base planting C4 on fueling station, stealing military hardware, and then bam, your partner is asked to surrender as he's compromised and surrounded. So what do? You blow that the hell up, kill as many of those soldiers as you can, and you get your ass the hell out of there. But do you just run? No. You steal a snowmobile and start shooting at the dudes chasing you on their snowmobiles while you speed down a hill while dodging fire from a attack helicopter, and you escape by jumping across a cliff. Yeah, this level's insanely fun. It's the most badass thing I've ever witnessed in my life, and I love it to death. It's number 2. The final entry on this list is Uncharted 2's Trainwreck. I have to say, it was a tough decision, but getting to this point after the literal cliffhanger of the opening chapter, this was such an amazing experience. I vividly remember the moment that this came full circle and being absolutely astonished. That part had been totally in the back of my mind for hours as something that was just confusing and devoid of context. Granted, I was like 12 years old when I played this, but for me, this level is emblematic of the entirety of the experience that is Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. I don't know what my literal child brain was expecting when I first played Uncharted 2, but it surpassed my expectations in every way. This was the first game I played on my PlayStation 3, and dear God, the fact I basically went from finishing Jack, Sly, and Ratchet to this was absolutely mind-blowing. Once we finally replay the train sequence, we see that Nathan Drake has recovered the Tibetan dagger, only for the garrison of Lavarisich's men to arrive to find the dagger and inevitably attempt to kill Nathan Drake, who had somehow, unbeknownst to them, survived all of that entire sequence. From there, you have an opportunity to take out these guards as quietly as possible, but given the fact it's an Uncharted game, an action-packed firefight is inevitable. But once that's done, Drake has to make his way through the snow, and he passes out only to be saved by a man he later gets to know as Tenzin. Overall, this just has to be the snow level that comes to mind when I say snow level in video games, and that's why it's number 1 on my list. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you did, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Hope you all have a wonderful, fantastic day. And tell me what some of your favorite snow levels are. And let me know if there's any I need to try or any games I still need to play. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Peace. Hey, and welcome to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. But I just want to go over some things. I want to do some honorable mentions. I want to give a shout out to, some levels I definitely considered, but, they didn't just make the cut. And, I'll throw up some pictures, do a little bit of a slideshow. But my honorable mentions are this. Hoth from Battlefront 2 specifically. Phendrana Dress from Metroid Prime, super fun level. Ice Cavern from Spyro. Icebound Citadel from Jack X Combat Racing. Barrett, Crash Bandicoot 2, Snow in Journey, literally just the entirety of SSX Tricky, but if I had to pick, it would be Tokyo Megaplex because that level's sick. Polar Pass in Crash Team Racing, that's one of my favorite tracks in any racing game for some reason. Heart of Ice, Uncharted 2, I definitely considered that, but I felt like the train sequence was just too iconic to pass on. Snow Go in Crash Bandicoot 2, also super fun. And then the Chill Penguin stage in Mega Man X. And then any snowy parts of Breath of the Wild and almost like a lot of God of War, you know, 4 and 5 really. Any of that could have also been considered, but yeah. This video took way longer to edit and put together than I initially thought, but hopefully we'll be doing more of these in the future. Thank you so much for watching again. Bye.